After Democrats spent a record amount of money on the 2026 redistricting referendum in the Commonwealth of Virginia, there's a possibility that this map will not go forward in the 2026 midterms. Now, this is all spired away since we've seen in recent days courts across the Commonwealth saying, no, you cannot use this map. It is unconstitutional. The way you went about it is unconstitutional. The ballot language was unconstitutional, etc., etc. We are going to see time after time these court cases head to the Supreme Court of Virginia. And we've got a interesting maybe tea leaf, if you will, about maybe what the court is thinking about all of these cases that are going to be coming before them in the coming days. The Virginia Supreme Court denied Attorney General Jay Jones's motion to certify the results of the redistricting referendum. Now, if you've been keeping up with this race at all, or the aftermath of it, you will know that in Tazewell County last week, the circuit court judge ruled that the Board of Elections in Virginia could not certify the redistricting referendum vote. Well, Attorney General Jay Jones and his team appealed that to the Supreme Court, and ultimately the court has ruled today that they are not going to allow the Board of Elections to certify these results. Now, this is likely because of the pending cases before different courts at this point in the aftermath of the election, really. So that's likely what we're seeing, is that today they're not willing to let the Board of Elections go ahead and certify this result, which in many aspects makes a lot of sense. But for Democrats, this is not the win that they were looking for. They were hoping to go ahead and allow that the Supreme Court would allow them to certify the results and move forward past not only the vote, but towards the November elections. That seems to not be the case. It seems that the lawsuits, the pending lawsuits between different courts are going to continue, and we're going to have to just wait and see what potentially the Virginia Supreme Court says about these different lawsuits and whether or not the vote itself was constitutional to begin with, whether the ballot language was constitutional, like I said at the beginning of the video, etc., etc. So I want to take a look at the redistricting referendum vote tally from last week. Last Tuesday, the Yes campaign, meaning yes to redistricting the Commonwealth of Virginia, won with 51.7% of the vote to the No's 48.3%. Now you may be saying, okay, great, yes won, and there's that. You know, we should move on. It should be redistricted, etc. But what's really interesting about this is if you go to rural Virginia, so Western Virginia, etc., you'll see that a record number of people not only voted no in this campaign in different counties across Southwest Virginia, but we're also seeing record turnout compared to the Virginia governor's race just 6 months ago. So that was important to tallying up this no campaign and them really bringing home a good solid number. If we go back to the Virginia governor's race, Winsome Earl Sears only won, 1.4 million of the votes cast, and this redistricting referendum actually scored more votes than Winsome Earl Sears scored in her election to be governor. Now that's really fascinating. Of course, the turnout wasn't as high in this redistricting referendum as it was in the governor's race just 6 months ago, but substantial nonetheless. Winsome Earl Sears not winning the same vote tally as this no campaign won just a week ago. So when we look at this and we're trying to figure out, well, how did this go about, what happened, etc., a big thing is that the Republican Party really spent a lot of time in these rural areas in the Commonwealth of Virginia trying to bring home the message that your vote's being stolen if you allow this redistricting referendum to go forward. Now, ultimately, they failed in bringing out enough voters. We've seen that in areas like Loudoun County and Fairfax, there were more votes tallied than maybe expected. That was record numbers for the yes campaign, especially when we compare it to like the Attorney General's race, where Jay Jones actually scored less of the percentage of the vote, 59% in Loudoun County, to the yeses campaign's 61% in Loudoun County. The vote tally itself on how many people showed up to vote is a different story. So you can talk about that, you can look at different aspects, but really the Republican Party was trying to look at this and say, okay, let's try and turn out rural Virginia, but they didn't necessarily turn out Northern Virginia the way that they needed to, similar to the way Glenn Youngkin did when he won his governor's race in 2021. Also, another important thing to keep in mind is the environment that we've seen. I mean, in recent months, we've seen record number of Democrats getting out to vote and encouraged to get out to vote. But the more I thought about this redistricting referendum as we were getting close to the election, which I apologize for not making more videos on. I seen that my last video that I made on it really blew up heading into the election. So I apologize for not making more content on that race specifically. But if we look at this and really try and understand, well, what happened here? Why was it such a big shift? I think, like I said before, it was the messaging from rural Virginia where we seen Republicans get out and say your vote's being stolen, and it really encouraged Republicans to get out and vote. Again, not enough, but it did encourage them. As I was saying before, I really thought that there was a chance that Northern Virginia and areas such as Richmond, etc., wouldn't get out and vote for this referendum like they would for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. Those are statewide offices they're going to impact for the next 4 years, which they did, and they got record number of votes in their respective races. But this redistricting referendum really didn't impact them too much. If you're in Loudoun County, Fairfax County, if you're in Richmond or the suburbs of Richmond, you're likely already in a pretty Democratic area, with the exception of maybe Henrico County. I believe part of that is in Virginia's 1st Congressional District at the current moment. But overall, you're looking at the possibility that there wouldn't be a ton of Democrats that would get out and vote for this. But ultimately, there was just enough to make it pass. So if we go over and we look at this redistricting map, we see that the current map has 5 Republicans and 6 Democrats in it currently. This new map would give Democrats a 10-1 advantage, with 2 of the congressional districts being more of toss-up districts for Democrats, which is Virginia's 6th in the new map and Virginia's 2nd in the new map. So these 2 districts would be the most competitive out of any of them. The Virginia's 9th is the only Republican district left. We're seeing areas like the 4th, the 7th, aka the Lobster District, etc. These are pretty solid Democratic districts, which really wouldn't be too competitive, especially in an environment like we expect 2026 to be. So this is important because this referendum really showed that Democrats are willing to fight back against these redistricting, the redistricting going on in other states like North Carolina, like Missouri. We're seeing in recent days Florida start to get into this mix, potentially Mississippi. We've already seen Texas and California in it. So this really sealed the deal, saying Democrats are willing to fight back. Now, with this court challenge and the possibility of the court overturning this in the first place, this is going to be pretty substantial for Republicans, showing that maybe they can get a win after all, even though they technically lost the race in the no campaign. They technically lost that. There is a possibility that these court cases turn out in their favor, and if they don't necessarily fully turn out in their favor to the point where we don't see these maps implemented in 2026 but 2028 instead, still a significant win for Republicans where they still use the current maps for the next 2 years. Now, of course, I don't know what to tell you on what's going to happen in these court cases, and I'm certainly not a legal expert. But from the people that I've talked to, I think that there's a pretty significant development in the fact that the court is not willing to just throw away Tazewell County's ruling in the first place, and they're leaving that as it is and saying, well, let's hear the cases before us and then we'll make a final judgment. I think it can go both ways. I think you can see it from the Democrats' side as an advantage, because they want to take their time with this, make sure that that nobody is, saying that they're a biased court, that they're really sitting here and just ruling with the Democrats 24/7, which certainly is not the case, but they don't want to be seen like that in many aspects. But you can also look at it from the Republican standpoint and say, well, if they were going to allow this referendum to go forward, they would have today. So we'll see what happens in the coming days. I wanted to hop on here and make a video about this, though, because it's a pretty significant development that the Supreme Court has denied the Attorney General's motion. So, of course, with that said, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this redistricting referendum goes forward through the courts at least, or do you think that we see the court rule that the map cannot go forward, that we see the current map, the map that our current congressional map in Virginia go forward? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to read through your thoughts. I love reading through those and getting all of your differences and opinions. It helps me really come up with how you guys feel and how other people across the country feel about different races, different states, etc. So, of course, with that said, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to read through those, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.